What is up, everybody? I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. I just want to make a video talking about my transition into a raw vegan diet, my transition to basically how I eat now. I want to start us off by saying that I don't have a crazy amount of experience eating fully raw. I haven't even finished a full year. I have done quite a few months, but I think I am very grounded in the dietary shifts that I've made, and I just want to share my whole transition. So 18 years of my life. Right now, I'm 20, I'm about to be 21. Woo! But 18 years of my life, I basically ate a standard American diet, and I ate pretty bad. I honestly ate pretty bad. I ate a lot of processed food. Honestly, anything you could imagine. Hamburgers, pizza, chicken wings, and I would frequently go on binges where I would just eat crazy amounts, like eating like large pizzas and it just completely stuffing my face until I was too full. Like sometimes I would just go on these binges where I'm like, you know what? Because I always sort of had health in mind. I always wanted to be healthy. Of course, I didn't know exactly how to eat, but the sort of typical healthy way of eating, just like grilled chicken and rice and stuff like that. But I would have these days where I'm like, okay, this is the last day that I'm going to eat like this, and so I would go on these crazy binges where I would go out and really get like a large pizza with a side of wings, with a hamburger, with a brownie sundae. So I just spent 18 years just really doing my body wrong. Then I went vegan, right? And I sort of had a foundation of a whole foods plant-based diet intuitively. Like I just sort of intuitively ate, fruits and vegetables, and like nuts and seeds, and like stir fries. Like I would make beans and rice, veggie stir fries and stuff like that. And that was definitely a big step in the right direction. I definitely started to feel better, but I still included a lot of vegan processed food. Like especially in the transition when I first went vegan, I was eating a lot of the veggie burgers, the vegan meats, the Gardines, the Beyond meats and stuff like that. And I would eat those pretty frequently, like at least a few times a week. And those definitely helped me transition. I think those are great for transitioning, and and that's what I personally believe. Of course anybody can eat them, but I think the purpose of them is to use them as a tool to transition off of animal products, because just personally I don't think those are the healthiest, because they are still very processed. They're still filled with quite a few ingredients, and I don't think those are the best for health. You know what I mean? But transitioning off of the meats and stuff, and the cheeses, the vegan cheeses and stuff, go for it. And not only that, but I would still go on these binges where, like, Saturday I would get off of work and I'd go to Taco Bell and I would get these bean and rice burritos and get like 6, 7, 8, douse them with a whole bunch of hot sauce, and throw the potatoes in there and just eat. And then I would go to this little Asian restaurant that had this big like flat noodle sort of like sesame sauce, and it was vegan. That's why I was told it was vegan. I asked them, like no egg, no dairy, no vegan. Boom. So I would go and I would just scarf it down until I was sick after. Like I would literally be like throwing up after. It was pretty bad. Um, so yeah, and I was just constantly in this cycle of just binging, feeling terrible, and wanting to get back on the wagon, but then binging, feeling terrible. So, and that was just an ongoing cycle, and that sort of takes a toll on your mental, because when you're in that state of just feeling so bleh, like that turns off all the lights, and you don't want to go out anymore. You aren't really inspired anymore. You aren't really putting out love and what you want to be. Like it really takes away who you want to be when you're constantly in that cycle of binging, at least in my case. But but then I discovered the raw vegan diet just through YouTube. Like I'm honestly not even sure how I stumbled upon it, but I freaking found the raw vegan diet, and I sort of I sort of dismissed it whenever I first heard it. Like, raw vegan diet, interesting. Not for me. I don't want to cut out cooked foods. Like that's kind of crazy, whatever. And then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try my own little version of raw vegan, because I've always loved fruit. I've always been a very, very big fruit lover intuitively, because fruit is where it's at. But yeah, and I would just eat fruit for breakfast, fruit for lunch, and then for dinner I would have like oats. Like I would have like a big bowl of oatmeal with with just fruit, and I think I would even add like nuts, and like make these big, like big oatmeal concoctions. And yeah, like they were super tasty, but it did not digest well because you're mixing all of this, all of these fruits and nuts and seeds and all that, and it just didn't digest very well. But I was doing that for a while, and I was like, and I kind of considered that raw, like, oh yeah, look, I'm raw. But I still didn't I still didn't even really understand like what eating raw was. And I believe one of the first channels, I think the first channel that really inspired me and sort of opened me up to raw and a great mindset to have is my man Jack from Raw Tropical Living. Jack Albertson. I don't know how to say his last name. Albritton. But just check. But if you just look up Jack from Raw Tropical Living, I think he has a really great channel on the raw vegan lifestyle, and not even just like raw vegan, but just vegan in general, whole food, plant based, and a good mindset to have, the non-dogmatic, non-purist mindset, just open-minded, and just being a cool dude. But I just started binge watching all of his videos, and I was like, okay, I wanna try this out. I wanna try this whole raw thing out. And then just one day I just cut out, I cut out the oatmeal and substituted for, I believe I started with salads. I would make like salads for dinner with this mango red pepper dressing, and I would put like bell peppers, salad, like greens and stuff like that. And that was really good. That was really good. I would do fruit for breakfast, fruit for lunch, salads, and I did that for a good 3 months, for about 3 months, and I felt pretty good. Like I really felt good. I really started to clean my body out. My skin started clearing up, and at the time I was boxing. I was boxing. I was competing. I was like training every single day, sparring a few times a week, and sort of frequently fighting in tournaments. And when you're boxing and when you're fighting in tournaments, doing that on a schedule, you really have to be ready. You really have to be ready. You have to be strong. You have to be feeling your best, because you're really putting your life on the line. You're fighting some dudes that want to take your damn head off. And I did start to notice, like, at the time at least, like a slight loss of strength. I didn't feel as strong, and like a bigger thing that I think, because I stopped boxing, I no longer box. I started losing the aggression, because I think just getting on the raw foods and really clearing myself out, like in consuming all of this content from the sort of raw food world, where it's super just like love and this completely different lifestyle, like a much more spiritual lifestyle, which is something that I've always been into, like growing up I was like actualize.org and Koi Fresco. Like I always loved like this lifestyle, and wanted to just like meditate and focus by myself and live that sort of lifestyle. But then I got in boxing, and then I sort of felt like I was like in this for a while, and it just really stopped resonating with me, and it was like hurting me, and it was causing me like a lot of like stress and mental pain and stuff like that. And so I had to quit. But back to what I was saying. Sorry, I kind of went off tangent. I started losing strength, and I thought I needed more protein. Right? I was like, you know what? I think I need more protein. I think I'm getting enough on this raw vegan diet. Maybe it's amazing, but for boxing, maybe not. And hey, that might still be true. I don't know if you are in a competitive, if you're in a competitive sport like boxing, where you have to be like aggressive and really have to fight. I don't know if being fruitarian is the best diet for that, because I feel like when you go fruitarian, you're more on like the love side, not the super aggression, being beat somebody else's side. But so I went back to cooked food, and just sort of raw till 4. I was eating lots of beans and rice and stir fries, and a couple of times I went to like Chipotle, and I would get like a bowl, which they have like oil and stuff like that, and I stopped feeling good. I stopped feeling amazing and on the sort of like raw food high, on the fruit high, whatever. Like I just sort of kind of came back down. I was more in my head. I was more just, I don't even know how to explain it. I just sort of fell down a little bit, and then I was like 2 months of that, Piper, 2 months of that, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna get back on raw. I got inspired again by watching more videos, consuming way more content, following so many different people, learning and reading 80, 10, 10, yada yada, And then I was like, you know what, I'm going to try raw again. And then I hopped right back on raw, hopped right back on fruit based, and then I stopped boxing. I freaking stopped boxing. Like after a few days of being back on raw and really clean, like a week or so, and really starting to clean myself out and sort of open my mind back up, I realized like I don't want to do this anymore. So I stopped. I stopped boxing, and it was the biggest relief that like it was the biggest relief that I could ever ask for. That's what I wanted. That's what I always wanted, was to just step away. And then I was so happy to finally dive into the lifestyle and to do it how I wanted to do it, and to really do fruit based and not worry about like having to fight somebody on Saturday, and am I strong enough, and this is I could just do the diet and do it long term, and that's what I've been doing. So for the past, I want to say now, for the past 6-7 months, I've been doing raw. A few times I have had cooked food. But the only cooked food I've craved are only sweet potatoes, squash, and steamed vegetables, like steamed broccoli, steamed carrots. Those are the only cooked foods I have, and I think that's amazing because especially right now, I have zero cravings for any sort of like junk food. Like I don't want any sort of restaurant food, any sort of like Taco Bell burritos, fast food like that, sweets and stuff like that. That really does not appeal to me. I'm not demonizing them. If you want to eat them, knock yourself out. But I'm really at the stage where those don't even look like food. Like I love smelling. Like I love smelling. But like if there's like my parents still eat everything and I live with them and I always like smell foods. I was just like, oh, can I smell that? I just like I like just like smelling foods, and they like that's all they really are to me now, are just sort of like smells and kind of props. Like as Tanny Ross says, like toys. They're just like they're just toys. They're just things that I don't consider like edible. I smell them. Okay, smells good. Not my food though, and I think that's such a good place to be right now. I don't really have any cravings at the moment for cooked food. I really because I really do want to do this lifestyle like long term, and even though I'm not I'm not against cooked food. I think cooked food and sweet potatoes and squash and all that are super healthy. And if you want to include them to your diet, and if you do include them and you still feel amazing, knock yourself out. And if I could include like sweet potatoes or something in my diet, and eat them in abundance and still feel amazing, I would include them because I think they're super fire. But every time I have went back and had sweet potatoes, for instance, they really bog me down. I tend to binge out. I tend to just use them as comfort food, and it takes me like days like to recover my my digestive system. Like I have a really sensitive digestion system, like digestion whatever, super sensitive, and like having 4 or 5 sweet potatoes can I feel like clog me up for like a week sometimes. Like it's kind of crazy, but so that's that. That's that. Right now I am eating fully raw, not for the label, but to feel my best, and I found that this is what I wanted. This is the best way for me to eat to feel my best. Focusing on high water content fruit. It's the summer. I'm eating lots of mango. I'm hopping on the papayas, coconut water, lots of watermelon juice. How did I forget? I'm drinking like this much watermelon juice a day. This is not watermelon juice. This is vinegar. I don't know why. I think it's for bugs. I was like, why is that out here? But yeah. So it has been a transition for me. Whenever I first went vegan, I didn't know about raw vegan. I didn't go vegan with raw vegan in my head. I just found out about it later. But I just sort of naturally transitioned into it. So I don't think if you're coming from a standard American diet, or you're coming from just a regular vegan diet without including like whole foods and stuff like that, like I would definitely consider transitioning into a raw vegan fruitarian lifestyle, because that's a pretty big switch, going from standard American diet to just fruitarian overnight. That's not that can cause a lot of problems. Very strong detox. I think it's perfectly fine to sort of transition over time to just a mucusless diet, where you're still including whole foods, and just transitioning to a whole foods plant-based diet is huge. You know what I mean? Just slowly cutting out the processed food, cutting out all of the the Beyond Meats and stuff like that. If that's what you desire, if you don't like how you feel on those foods and you want to cut them out to feel better, slowly cut those out over time, switch those out for more whole food plant-based meals, And then, like if you do desire to go raw, then start incorporating more raw foods and more, start having fruit, fruit for breakfast, and have a nice mono fruit meal if you want, or have a fruit salad. And then over time you can have fruit for lunch or a salad for lunch. And then over time, then you can have a raw dinner, a big salad, a big green smoothie, whatever you really want, and just make it a transition. Enjoy the journey. Like, of course, I know you want the weight loss, and you want all the benefits, and you want all this, but don't be so fixated on, like on the destination, that you forget all about the journey. You know what I mean? Because it is gonna take a while. I'm still transitioning. I'm still working on my body. I'm still cleaning myself out. When we like I believe that, when we spend all of these years, like 20 years, 40 years, 60 years, like eating a certain way, really treating our bodies unhealthy with food, with drugs, with alcohol. And just real quick, I know it's going on talk. Like, I also, when I was younger, I did kind of like lots of pills and drugs and stuff like that, and I think that also had an effect on just my on my body, because I was like, like a 2-year period of sort of consuming a lot of these things. But yeah, so when you do spend all these years with food, drugs, alcohol, all of these negative things to our body, it's not going to happen overnight, where we're going to go from feeling like this to feeling amazing. You know what I mean? Where we feel just invigorated with life, our bodies feel amazing, we're happy, we're joyful. That's going to take some time. That might take a year, 2 years, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. 10 years of being consistent and really cleaning out your body, and really just loving the lifestyle, loving the fruits of your labor, loving the fruits literally, and yeah. So that is it. That was my transition. Take it slow. If you desire, if you are someone that wants to just jump into it, I'm not here to stop you, but don't be afraid to to have a sweet potato, or to have some steamed squash, or to have some broccoli. You know what I mean? Just go at your own pace. Listen to your body. Love yourself, and have a good day.